What's up guys, my name is Dev, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, as you can tell by the title, we're actually doing something pretty cool. We're gonna be going over the AuxBeam AC800 8-gang switch panel, kind of a long name. Doesn't necessarily have to be on a Tacoma like what I used it for. You can use it for cars, trucks, trailers, boats, anything it's just to control a bunch of accessories or lights or anything like that. It's a switch panel, right? For those of you who don't know, I'm actually an electrician. I'm a journeyman electrician. That's what I do for a living. So this is like both of my worlds colliding in one. So I was actually pretty stoked for this project. So today's video is gonna be not necessarily a how-to install, but it's gonna be a review, and I kind of wanna show you guys ways that I installed this, which might benefit you and how you install yours. So I wanna give you a review and my honest thoughts of the actual product, and my tips and tricks on how you can install it to make it easier or cleaner or however you want to do it. So that's what today's video is going to be about. So first things first, I think the most important part is where you're actually going to mount the switch panel. So for those of you who don't know what a switch panel looks like, this is what it looks like. This is an AuxBeam 8-gang switch panel. It's called an 8-gang because it has 8 different spots. So that's pretty straightforward. But every single one of these is a button, and this is how you can control it. And we'll go over what I do with mine and what I control with mine and how it works and features and stuff like that. But this is where I mounted mine. So in these Tacomas, they have this little cup holder slot thing. It's just kind of like a little holder. But on Etsy, you can get this mount. I'll try and find the link, but they make a bunch of different mounts on Etsy. But this one specifically, you just feed the wire through. You drill a tiny little hole in the back for it to feed through, and then this slides right on in. And it's not, like you could see I pulled it out, but it's not just gonna fall out on its own. Some mounts sit like way down here, which I didn't want because I'm kind of a taller guy and I wanted as much room as I could with my legs without hitting my knee on it. So that's where I mounted that. All right, moving up into the disgusting engine bay, you can actually see where I mounted the actual fuse box, which is right here. This little cover just comes off, and you can see how I landed all the wires. There are a bunch of great install videos explaining to you how these work more in depth if that's what you're looking for. Long story short, each set of positive and negative terminals is one switch, and you have 8 different sets as they're numbered right there. Pretty straightforward. There are great install videos if you need a little bit more in depth on how all this works, but that's that. So that's how mine looks. Tried to clean up the wires best I could. A bunch of the slack is for my rock lights. I actually don't even have those wired onto here, only because I want to be able to turn those on with the truck off, because sometimes I'll just leave them on if I'm at camp or something like that. But anyway, here is where I mounted my circuit breaker that it comes with. So you have a main feed that comes off of your 12-volt battery or whatever, like if it's on a trailer or whatever, 2 6s, whatever you're gonna do. You're gonna have a main feed that feeds into this, and you're gonna have the jumper wire that goes from here, which is your 60 amp main breaker, into your actual fuse box. So that's how that works. And then you have a ground or a negative wire that bounces from here, and then I just grounded it right there onto the terminal. So I actually mounted this fuse panel with the bracket that it comes with. This is just like a bracket that will be in the box. It's kind of hard to tell, but at least on the Tacoma platform, there's a bolt right here, and I just reused that factory bolt, and it's plenty tight. Like, this thing is not moving at all. So for those of you who have seen my truck before, I don't really have a ton of lights actually on the truck. I have fog light replacements, ditch lights, and then I have 2 light bars that are actually hidden here behind the grill. They're kind of hard to see, but the only things that I actually have hooked up to my switch panel are the ditch lights, and I have the 2 light bars hooked up. But you'll see what I mean. I hooked them all up to their own individual switch so that I could individualize them, and then I'll show you how I can code them to turn on together and all that stuff, because these AuxBeams do have some really cool features when it comes to that. So we'll go over that right now. So the switch panel will not turn on unless you have the key on an accessory or if the actual truck is running. So if the truck key is out or the truck's off, none of this will work. But once you turn it on, this color will pop up, whatever color you choose. I'll show you on my phone how you can change all the colors, but right now I have mine set on blue. The way I have mine set up is I have cubes, grill, left, right arrows. The left one is my left ditch light, the right one is my right ditch light. And then I have light bar, left being the top light bar, right being the bottom light bar in my grill. And this comes with a full sticker panel of all different kinds of buttons, which I will show you that you can put on for whatever accessories you're gonna be turning on. So turning on the accessories is as simple as just clicking whichever one you want to turn on. So as you can see, once I click it, my ditch lights are on. You can see on both sides. And then if I click the top one, my top light bar comes on, and I will then click the bottom one, and the bottom light turns on. I'll turn those off so you can tell. Anyway, super straightforward. So you have 2 other buttons. You have a power button and a mode button. The power button works. So if I have my ditch lights on and I have both of my light bars on, just like you can see. If I hit the middle power button, it shuts everything off at once. And then if I hit the power button again, it turns everything back that I just had on previously. So it basically saves your setting. So if I had my left ditch light and my top light bar on and I hit that, it would shut both of them off. And then if I hit that again, it would just turn those two back on. I'm gonna show you how you can switch the modes. These AuxBeams have some really cool features, so you can actually strobe. It also has a momentary mode, so if you're holding the button, it turns on, and then as soon as you let go, it shuts the light off. So I'll show you how to do that now. So the second button is the mode button. The way that you access this control is you double click that. It will then flash the 3 different colors. You have red, which is on off, green, which is pulsing, and blue, which is momentary, which I explained. So right now I have all of mine on pulsing. So then if I double click and I change these to red, now when I turn my light bars on, they're just on off. And then if I were to double click this and change it to the pulsing, which is green, now my light bars are pulsing, as you can see up front. So really cool, super easy to do on the fly, and that you can also do this all on your phone, which I will show you as well. So in the instructions of the switch panel, it'll tell you what app, it'll give you a QR code, you'll download that. You'll then connect it to your Bluetooth, and then you will have full access. So this is where you can change the colors. I don't know if you could tell up there, but the colors are changing based on what you want. Like there's red, blue. I just keep mine on blue. They also have a bunch of preset colors. But this is where you can change things in your switch panel. You can dedicate the icons and name them. So I just matched whatever I put on the actual switch panel so things are correlated well. But this is where you can change the mode. So if you tap the icon and you change it to momentary, you can change the individual switches in here just like you could on the actual panel. Now, another really cool feature is grouping. So this is why I explained, so I have my ditch lights wired separately, but I'm able to turn them on together by a group. So what you do is you will then select the 2 or 3 things that you want to be turned on, and you will dedicate them to a separate button. So I have my left and right ditch lights turned on with the bottom left button. If I click either of the arrows, or if I click that bottom left one, it turns both of them on at the same time. The reason I wire them separately is because I can turn off this group and then I'm able to just turn on one light at a time, if that makes sense. So you can do that with anything that you want. I have my light bars wired separately, but I could group them together down to the grill button, which I now have turned off. But if I turn that on, then those light bars will just turn on by hitting that one button. Now, the only downside of this, and something that kind of bothered me, is you have to actually go in and delete or turn off the group. I was hoping that I could just make this one button turn on those 2 things, and then I could still individually turn those on, but that's not how it works. So if you hit one of those buttons, it will then turn on the other one as well. So you have to go in and delete the group, which does kind of bother me, but it is what it is. I really haven't found it to be an issue, but when I initially did the install, it kind of bothered me. So I just wanted to show you where you have your switch panel to, you can turn everything on as long as you're on the bottom left, which is the color option. If I hit my ditch lights, as you can see, those turned on. If I hit my top light bar, boom, you can see that one turn on. Then there's my bottom one. And then if I go over into mode, I can select the individual icon and I can change it to pulsing, which you can then adjust the speed. So if I go back and turn it on, so now you can see that light bar is pulsing. Pretty sweet. You can adjust the speed on all that stuff. So that's really cool. I can make it faster. Now it's pulsing at like full speed, but you can do that with any of the things that you turn on, and that's all from your phone, which is really cool. Anyway, it's really cool to be able to turn everything on and off just with your phone. Like I can hit that center button. There is a little bit of a delay that I've noticed, but it is what it is. You know, it's still nice being able to do it with your phone. Now, I wanted to show you something else that's really cool that comes in your box. Is it actually comes with a full separate remote, and I prefer to use this rather than my phone. But the only thing is that you can't actually change the modes of the button on this, but I can hit on, and look at that, all my lights come on. I can turn everything off individually. One cool thing about the remote is that even though I had those groups on, it still lets me actually individually turn on my ditch lights, even though in the app they're actually grouped together. So that's really cool. It allows you to select everything separately, which is pretty sweet. Which this is really cool just because if you are walking away or you're on the trail and like say I'm helping somebody over here and I just want this one on, I can just select one, boom, now I have a light facing directly at me, and that's really nice. So really cool to have a remote. It turns everything off and on just like all the other components. So one last thing I wanted to show you is all the buttons that it comes with. You are not limited at all. There are so many different options: lockers, DRL, stereo, up, down, fuel. A lot of guys use these switch panels on side-by-sides and razors and stuff. So if you have a specific button, they make it. So that's really cool. I think you can actually purchase more of these on their website too, with a couple more options. All right guys, well that's gonna wrap up today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's actually really cool. I think this is a great product. It took me a long time to decide on a switch panel that I wanted to put on this truck, just because I really don't have a ton of lights. So I wanted something that used all the different functions that wasn't necessarily gonna break the bank. I think all the AuxBeam options that they have on their website were great. This is just the one that I chose. I really like the remote feature. That was a big deal to me, and being able to control it from my phone. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, please drop them down below in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. Like I said, if you do need a more in-depth, there are several videos that go over an exact wiring diagram, what to hook up where. It's very simplified and like almost dumbed down. So if that's what you need, definitely go reach out and try and find one of those videos. But I hope that my review video showing off some of these features could solidify some of your questions. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys in the next one. Peace.